All right, cliffhanger in the last episode. I don't know why this isn't working, but we changed the course policy because the port changed, and now we're going to try running again after having shut down the server there. So let's cross our fingers. Okay. All right, so for an error you almost certainly didn't get, I'm actually not worried about the fact you didn't get it, because that's important stuff to see if it's not working for you at some point, right? So even if it was working for you then, this inevitably will happen at some point, so it's good to see. But now we've got our same list of projects, but we're doing it using that separate API call, which is going to come in handy as we move into the next thing. So the next thing is to create this actual admin page. We are going to call, let's close out of that and shut down. I'm going to shut down for now the server and the running app. So what we're going to do is in our finished pages, now we can build our admin page that we were talking about. So in our pages, I will create a new file called admin projects page.tsx. So this is going to be a finished page by the time it's all said and done. And so then we just start out like normal. Now we can do, you've seen this where we say const admin projects page, and then we pass in the information and have the braces and do our return statement. And so we can obviously do it like that, but you may see sometimes too, it seems like a lot of the code I'm seeing is leaning toward setting this up in a different way by saying const admin projects page, and then using the anonymous function route, the arrow function. These two things are doing the same thing. It's just a different way. This is setting it up as a const, right? This is setting it up as a function. We can call either one. This is actually going to turn into a function. I just want you to see that I am seeing in the examples I'm looking at a lot more of this way of doing it. I'm seeing both, but I am seeing this one a lot. And so let's use that for this. Again, it's the same thing. It's going to end up being a function, but I want to show you, how this looks. Okay, so in order for us to load up the admins project page, we're going to need the same stuff we had, to store the group of projects. So if I'm going to make this call, I need to have, how can I show you? So I'm still going to need to have here these same elements in terms of, these loading, error loading. That stuff is going to need to be in my admins project page. And then actually getting the list of projects. So if I go look at what I was doing, the project list, this thing about having the projects, this is going to be in common. Eventually we're going to have all of these things, I think. In fact, I was going to do it a piece at a time, but it probably makes more sense. We're going to need all of them because we're still going to have pagination on this. Do I want to do it now or do I want to wait? I was going to do it in stages so you could kind of see it evolve. I'll stick with plan A. So I'll grab just this line of code. We'll put in our projects in here as well. All right, and it doesn't recognize use state initially. We can import that. It wants this to be exported at the end, so we can throw that in there. Export admin projects page. Export default. Admin's project page, and then we're just going to get errors that it doesn't. Oh, we need to import the project type as well, but then these errors are just we haven't used them yet, so we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so as we go through and build this, again, it's going to share a lot of the same stuff. So I'm going to call this use effect. Now, use effect, again, the benefit of it is that React doesn't always have to sit there and go check the server, go check the server, go check the server to see is there new data. Instead, it looks for some triggers. And it says, if this variable changes, then go check the server and see if there's new data based on that change. And so it just watches a few different, in what we call the dependency array, and we'll build this in just a second. It watches to see, is there something we need to look at to change or not. And so I'm going to come into this use effect, and inside we're going to, we can do the same thing that we were doing before, where I can say const load projects equals, and then async means asynchronous call. So we're not waiting for the rest of the page to load to do this. We make the call, and when the data comes, the data comes. And so we can still see the rest of the page, like we saw where it said error loading projects. We still see the rest of the page instead of it just being a blank page. And then in here we can have our try, just like we did. And in that try we can say go get or build a const called data that is equal to awaiting that asynchronous call, and we will call the fetch projects that we built over on the other side. Now it wants 3 parameters. It wants the page number, or the number of pages, so the page size, the page number, and then selected categories. That's what we built it up to have: page size, page num, and selected categories. And so as I'm calling this, I'll go fix that in a minute to get the actual data, but for now I can just hard code and say, well, I want 10 projects, I want to start on page 1, and I don't have any selected categories, so there's a blank array that I'm going to pass in. And so this is just going to be a default for now to go get that data. And then once I do that, then I can go set projects, so calling this method here, set projects, and then pass in whatever came back from our data, the projects in there. So that will set our local projects to whatever the projects is coming in from that data call. And then with try, we ought to have a catch, right? So I can have a catch. Again, I can say error. This, I could call it error instead. It doesn't, I could call it E instead. This is a name we're giving to the information that's coming in to be stored so we can print out the error message or whatever. I'll call it error this time just to mix things up. You know me, a wild and crazy guy. Okay, and then if we get an error, we can do the same thing as we did before. Set the error equal to, wow, set the error. Why is it not recognizing that? We'll find out in a minute. Equal to whatever the error was as an actual error, the type, and go get the message out of it. All right, can't find name set error. Well, it's right there. I don't know about that one. This one, we need to import from our API projects to recognize what a fetch projects is, right? This const projects is assigned but never used. That makes sense to me. Can't find set projects. Oh, I've messed up. These braces, so the reason we're getting those errors because the scope of these are between that brace and that brace. I've closed too early. My use effect was supposed to be inside there. So yeah, it can't see set projects or set error. This brace needs to be down at the bottom. So I can save that, and now it recognizes those things. Okay, we need to import for use effect. And now I think we're good. It just has all these errors about not using the things yet. Okay, and so the other thing we did here was a finally on our try catch. We had a finally statement saying kind of finish up before we exit anything that we need to if we're getting an error. And so in the finally, we can set loading back to false. So we know we're not loading anymore. And then in our use effect, so there's the opening brace for it. Before we close, it needs a second parameter, which is this dependency array, this thing we're watching. Now currently there's nothing in there, but when something on the page changes, if we put it in here, then it will trigger this use effect to go grab that data again from the server. All right, we'll keep working on this in the next video. Spencer out.